So this is for students who have mastered those basic reading skills. They don't necessarily chunk. Multisyllabic words are kind of a pain for them. They get to them and they look at them and they maybe do the first sound, and then they do that little bubble thing where they go, hoping that you didn't realize they didn't say the word. There's a student book, workbook, a student textbook, and then 2 presentation guides. This is a huge, huge program. It's 120 lessons. It's a whole year worth of lessons. Okay? The focus is on informational text because kids that struggle with those multisyllabic words, usually science and social studies becomes a little more difficult. There's a lot of vocabulary focus, accuracy, and word structure. Once again, like 6th graders that go into this, fine. If you have a 4th grader that's testing to C, don't do it. It's not where they should be. They need something else. Yes?
So my question with like all of this is, how do you decide which would be better for them between corrective reading and LLI?
Talk about what the skills they need are. If it's an all-encompassing kid, like they need absolutely everything, that's a conversation you're going to have. So do we try to see if they need the comprehension? Do we see if they need the decoding? Or is LLI the best choice for them? If you did the placement here, depending on if they test into A, LLI is probably not going to be the place for them to be because they need those structures. The LLI program, I love the stories, I love the text and how they've organized it, but if a kid hasn't got the basic skills of figuring out how to read the words, but they can comprehend, probably a decoding program is going to be what's best. It's a conversation that we have. It's not every kid needs to do LLI or every kid needs to do corrective reading. And also, if we've tried something, we need to go to something different. So if corrective reading, they're in there and they haven't shown any success, then we probably need to try something else, if we can say it's been done with fidelity. Same thing happens for LLI, though. They've had a lot of guided reading. They've had interventions all the way through. We put them in an LLI and they still aren't growing huge. Maybe we need to look and see what else is there. One thing I wanted to talk about is on page 159, we start to introduce affixes. Once again, it's yellow, so that means it's going to be on the board. You're going to write it. Go ahead. You want to use the words affix, prefix, suffix. Don't hide those from kids. One thing that's not in here that I often do when I am teaching C is exercise 1. Oh, affixes. Okay? Because we want them to hear that academic language. So this is going to be very similar to what you've done before. You're going to ask them to say what word. You're going to go through that. And then you're going to be all secretive again. I'm going to change the word. I'm going to add an affix. I'm going to add a prefix this time. Add the prefix, go through, have them reword the changed word. One thing we want them to know is that when we add something, it changes the word. Okay? 1 goes right into exercise 2. Open your student book to lesson 26. Okay? Touch the letters UN in part 1. When those letters appear at the beginning of a word, they usually mean not. What does un mean? Get ready. Not. One thing I'm going to freeze right here. They are basic. They are giving, for when you're at 26, so you haven't been in the program very long, you're giving very basic definitions of what the prefixes and suffixes mean. Okay? You're not giving the complicated, like, we're trying to get them caught up so that they can have some idea in their mind. Okay? Touch the first word in column A. What word?
Unreal.
Yes, unreal. What does unreal mean? Get ready.
Not real.
Yes, not real. Touch the next word. What word?
Unseen.
Yes, unseen. What does unseen mean? Get ready.
Not seen.
Yes, not seen. Okay. So like I said, this is just you're early on, you're just saying un means not. Okay. All right, so you would go through all of them and you have column B there, same kind of thing. You would go ahead and add in your fluency procedure. And then we are going to start to do an accumulative review. So if I would say, we're going through and say, what does unreal mean? Get ready.
Not real.
Not real. So what's another way of saying not real? Get ready.
Unreal.
All right, so you're flipping it back and forth. Okay? We are going to do more of that, so that's just their introduction. Exercise 4 is about vocabulary. It's on page 160. We started to do that cumulative review a little bit with the prefix. Anytime you're introducing a new word, basically the words, you have the word and you have the definitions, and you have the definitions or the word in a sentence. Okay? You want kids to start to be able to interchange the definition and the word within the sentence. Okay? That is the goal, because then they start to internalize it. Touch part 3. Okay? We're going to talk about those word meanings. Touch word 1. What word?
Tunnel.
Yes, tunnel. I really, really dislike this one. Who can tell me what a tunnel is? This is, whenever time they ask me to do that, you know what I do? Turn and talk to your neighbor about what a tunnel is. Okay? And you don't give them very much time. Because we've trained kids to answer on signal, and we've trained kids to answer a group response. I listened, and your responses to your neighbor were awesome. Lise, what was your group's? What's a tunnel?
A tunnel is a passage you can go through.
Yes, a tunnel is a passage you can go through. I've never had a 6th grader tell me that a tunnel is a passage you can go through, just so you know, but this is what's in their book. You are pretty amazing, okay? I've had kids with tunnel tell me, well, it's like a long tube through a mountain. Okay, guess what? It is like a long tube through a mountain, all right? So use what they have if it actually makes sense, what they give you. If it makes sense, use what they have, because you want to just prep them up. They're right, okay? Yes, a tunnel is a passage through a mountain. Everybody, touch word 2. What word? Fluttered, yes. Fluttered is another way of saying moving back and forth rapidly. What's another way of saying the leaves moved back and forth rapidly in the breeze? Get ready.
Flutter.
Yes, the leaves fluttered in the breeze. You want them to say that whole thought. So what's another way of saying this whole sentence? Okay, once again, whole thoughts. Okay. So what's another way of saying the leaves fluttered in the breeze? Get ready.
The leaves move back and forth rapidly.
Right, so we've taken the definition, we put the definition in the sentence, we've flipped it around, and then we put the word in the sentence, okay? So we do both. So we've got that one. Now we're going to go back up to tunnel. And tunnel we agreed was a passage through a mountain. So what is a tunnel? Get ready.
Passage through a mountain.
Yes, a passage through a mountain. Okay. Just so you know, a tunnel can be other places too. So the next word, going back, next word. What is another way of saying the leaves move back and forth rapidly in the breeze? Get ready.
The leaves fluttered.
Yes, the leaves fluttered in the breeze. Touch word 3. What word?
Snake.
Yes, snaked. Snaked is another way of saying twisted. Everybody, what's another way of saying the road twisted between the mountains? Get ready.
The road snaked through the mountains.
Yes, the road snaked between the mountains. Another way of saying the road snaked between the mountains is the road twisted between the mountains. Okay? So then we're going to go back up and we're going to do that cumulative review, because 10 bucks says you got all the way down to the bottom and didn't review any of the top, and they weren't really sure what a tunnel is, they're not going to get it. Okay? And we want them to start to internalize it, so that's why we're flipping it back and forth. So what's another way of saying a passage through a mountain? Get ready.
Tunnel.
Yes, a tunnel. Okay. What's another way of saying the leaves fluttered in the breeze? Get ready.
The leaves move back and forth in the breeze.
Yes. Okay, here's the thing. Because of where you are at, you're capable of flipping and flopping them interchangeably right now. You're going to start by just going back with the cumulative review. Okay? Go back and say, what's another way of saying? And reading it just like this is. And then maybe you just flip one of them in your cumulative review. Don't flip them every single time until you're amazing. Okay? So you would go all the way through and you get that drizzly rain. And I'm just going to say, drizzly rain in Nebraska is not like a light, quiet rain. It is a gross, cold, yucky rain. Okay? That's what I would say. But if you don't agree, I'm okay with that. Okay? So you would just go all the way through. You're going to ask them what word. You're going to give them a definition, and you're going to put it in a sentence. You're going to interchange the sentence, or you're going to interchange the definition and the word within the sentence. Don't do them all at once. Go back to the top. You can go in a different order because we also don't want kids to just try to memorize the order. So that feels not the most fluent. It does work. You'll get to the point where it just flows off your tongue pretty well. So we have the word tunnel, which we've decided is now a tube through a mountain because that's kid language and that might be something that they give you. You are going to say, you know, it's not always, sometimes there's tubes and there's tunnels other places too. There's an airport that has tunnels all over the place. Okay? So you're just going to go through and you're going to say, so what's another way of saying a passage through a mountain or a tunnel through or a tube through a mountain? Get ready. Tunnel. Yes, tunnel. Next word. What's another way of saying the leaves moved back and forth rapidly in the breeze? Get ready.
The leaves fluttered in the breeze.
Yes, the leaves fluttered in the breeze. And you're going to go back up to tunnel and say what's another way of saying tunnel? Get ready. Right. You don't have to go in like the strict order. Do the ones that they are going to have the most difficulty more often. Okay? Exercise 7 on 161. This is slightly different. The passages are a whole lot longer. This is one section here, and this is one section here. Okay? You also have number ones right here, meaning we're going to ask these after this section. Number twos, we're going to read this after this section. Sometimes it goes back and forth. Okay? Your same strategies that we had in B1 and B2, they apply right here. It's the same thing. They're reading longer text, and it's a more complicated text. You also will have generally less group questions because it's higher level thinking. We are going to do a little bit of talking about the vocabulary. One thing, no matter what level that you're in, the way you say things will make kids decide whether or not they're going to pay close attention to it or whether they're going to just not, it's all going to blend in. So we're going to pause and punch whenever we're teaching a vocabulary, including those things like flutter. We paused right before we gave the definition, and we went into the next word. So we're going to pause and touch. So you measure your weight in pounds. Everybody, you measure your weight in pounds. Everybody, how do you measure your weight? Get ready. Yes, in pounds. So we're going to phrase this together. We're going to chunk it together, just like we want kids to read. We want them to chunk things. We're going to really emphasize this. We're going to pause in between, pausing afterwards. Same thing here, pause and punch. So we pause and punch. Some words we're going to punch them, and we're going to break some of them together. And I know that sounds really kind of crazy, like, duh, we know how to do this. You have to over-exaggerate it, because when you are doing it like a normal voice, so we measure our weight in pounds. Okay, so I paused a little bit and I emphasized those words. We need to make it very, very explicit for these kids. Okay, we're going to put all of this together in one phrase. So the part of a car or a plane that makes it move is the engine. Okay, so it's like that pause is telling you something big's happening. Here we go. Get ready. Okay, so the part of the car or the plane that makes it move is the engine. Everybody, what's the part of the car or the plane that makes it move? Get ready. Engine. Yes, engine. The engine is the part of the car or the plane that makes it move. We have lots of things here. When you have an impression about something, you have an idea about that thing. So when you have an impression about something, you have an idea about that thing. So you're just breaking it down. One thing, if you are asking kids to give you back the information and they can't do the whole thing, so we would break it into parts, and I would say, when you have an impression about something, say that part. Get ready.
When you have an impression about something,
you have an idea about that thing. Get ready. Say that part.
You have an idea about that thing.
Yes, when you have an impression about something, you have an idea about that thing. Let's say the whole thing. Ready? Say the whole thing.
When you have an impression about something, you have an idea about that thing.
That was beautiful pausing and punching on the way. Okay? So anytime you are giving them lots of information, you want to emphasize the most important information. We want impression and idea to pop out because those are the things that are connected. Okay? You will see this some in B1 and B2. It's just more fun to practice in C. The checkouts in Decoding C, exercise 8, is time checkout readings. One of the major differences is the number of errors they can have and that they get a 2-minute timed reading. The reason it goes to a 2-minute time reading is we're trying to build endurance, for one. We have kids that, think about your F&Ps that you've been doing. Like, they're doing great, and then you get to like the 5th page, and they start tanking. They don't have the endurance. So we want to start to build endurance. So in decoding, B1, B2, and C, the workbook is done independently. We don't want students to have to look back for the answers either. We want them to read to remember. This is something that kind of freaks a lot of us out. We're like, that's a resource. Yes, but we also don't want them to say that I don't have to pay attention the first time I read it, because let's waste a lot of time. So what you do is you say, circle that, which is also a good test-taking strategy, and we're going to come back to it. I'm going to give you the last 5 minutes, the last 3 minutes of our independent work time for you to look up those answers. So you don't want them to look up every single answer. All the correcting is done is a teacher-directed. So you're going to have red pen, blue pen. So corrective reading, anytime they do workbook, make them use a pencil to actually do the work. Okay? Then, you're super special. You're going to correct. Red pen's in their hand. They get to put a little X by the one that is not right. We don't do smiley faces. We don't do stars when it's correct. And here is why. I can monitor all of you right now and kind of get a general idea of how we did on our workbook. But if I have somebody, and I'm going to say it's notoriously like 5th grade girls who want to put stars and hearts on one when they get right, my heart's going, oh, we got to reteach, because I see that red pen all the time. And then I walk over and go, oh, you were just making a mess of your workbook. It wasn't that you didn't need me. Then you're going to take the blue pen, and they're going to do the corrections after you've corrected everything. So when you're correcting, the blue pen should never be up. So one thing, if you're looking here on 26, I'm sorry, on 163, I would start by saying something like, number 1, how does the redwood tree's life begin? And then I would say, Leanne, tell me your answer.
With a seed in a cone.
Okay, and so I'm going to say yes, with a seed in a cone. And then inevitably I'm going to have a kid say, but I wrote it this way. I said, well, there's a cone with a seed inside of it. And I'd be like, did you say the right thing? So if you have a seed and cone, anywhere in your answer is going to be correct. I'm going to take 2 other responses of whatabouts. 2 other whatabouts, okay? And then you let them give it. If you still have kids that are raising their hand going, what about, say, you just circle it and I'm going to look at it later. If you look at part 2, so I would say, you're going to fill in the blanks. Ready? The baby birds, get ready.
Flutter.
Their wings. Number 2, the door opened and the tall man, get ready.
Emerge.
Yes, emerged. Next, number 3, the road, get ready.
Snake.
Around the mountains. So that's how I would correct. It doesn't matter if it's B1, B2, C, A a little bit, but not so much because you've already done every single exercise with them. Okay? But when you get to the point where they're doing something independently, that's how I would correct.